So things are fine here. Since we're always talking about everything and all there is, which is apparently all there is, everything and nothing at the same time. We have all there is here, doing what it's doing here, apparently. And apparently, that's all that ever happens, anywhere, everywhere, and nowhere. Is just everything doing what everything's doing all the time for no one, for no reason, for no explanation, for nothing. All there is, whatever you want to call it, it just keeps doing it. And actually, that's happening everywhere. It's happening for this, and it's happening for that, and it's happening for Leva, and it's happening for all the other 8 billion of us. It's just everything doing all 8 billion people as it does 8 billion people. And all those people don't realize it. All they know is that they're doing it. All they know is that they have a life separate from everyone else's. And at the same time, underneath and instead and beside and behind all that identity, that separation, is all there is. Always all there is, doing all it does. For people, it can be called aliveness or life. It's just another word for everything, for infinite, for endless, for nameless. Always there, apparently. Always there, lifing, peopling, animaling, planting, rocking, planeting, galaxying, universing infinitely, dimensioning, apparently. And still, it's right here. It's right here. It's right there. It's doing leva. It's doing this, which used to be called Steve, still called Steve. But that Steve is not there anymore. So in this here case, all there is in this body is still called Steve, but now it's all there is. It's everything there is. Doing this, patting this chest, looking this way, wearing glasses. It's all there is doing this. For leva, it's all there is doing that all the time. It's just not seen. The self, the self-centered self, the selfishly self-centered self, self-created, self-perpetuating, and self apparently ending at some point. That's one of its big concerns, that it will end. And all that selfing is going on top of, or instead of, or in place of all there is. Endlessly, perpetually, all there is, without beginning, without ending, always all there is, without worry, without problems. Always all there is. Always there. Even when the selfish self is there. All there is doing all there is. That way. And the self, unable to see all there is, can't see it. Maybe it gets inklings, maybe it has heard this or that, maybe it's on a spiritual path, maybe it's meditating, maybe it's aware, maybe it's growing, maybe it's developing. But all of its efforts prevent it from seeing all there is. all of the self's efforts, the trying, seeking, the finding, maybe something, separate it from all there is. All of its efforts keep it locked inside itself. It doesn't realize, it doesn't know how. To see all there is. It knows that there's something more. It would like to find that something more. The more that it looks for something more, the more it separates from all there is. Some people have said that the self really doesn't want to be a self. Anyway, it really never wanted to be, but now that it is, it's desperate to continue being. It finds itself to be just so real and so believable that things can't be any other way for it. Some selves get tired of trying. They get tired of seeking. They sometimes just give up on seeking. Take time off. And they find that that's no better than the seeking was. Sometimes the self will just get so tired of selfing, just so tired of being, constantly being itself, that somehow, apparently, it may just give up on being without even knowing how. It might just give up on itself. And all of its effort at being separate, at being someone, at being important. The stream in the background is just streaming. in its own way, it's important in the sense that it's there, running somewhere, apparently. As long as there's water running. The stream, as what is, as all there is important as any other all there is. It's all there is. It's not divided up in levels of importance. It's all everything at the same time. Importance doesn't have meaning for it. Importance is a self or a selfish word. So this little creek or stream is as important as anything, anywhere, anytime. It's as important as the entire infinite universe. It is the infinite universe here in this location. The entire universe in its infiniteness is here in this little spot. There's no separation. There may be light years measuring the distance between things, and all those things are the same thing at the same time, in the same place. Some people talk about the universe being expressed in the tiniest objects. And of course, that's a story, another selfish story. And yet, everything does express itself everywhere, apparently. This little plant growing on the rock here next to the water seems perfectly content. It's flowering. It's doing its plant thing. As a plant and as all there is, being a plant. Apparently as significant as anything else. It's all the same, all there is. It's really something. And yet it's really nothing. It has no meaning. And yet it's hugely significant. This, all there is. So at some point, all there is apparently sees that it is really not a separate, selfish self. At least that's what is seen here. This remembers what Steve used to be like. And there's no desire to return to Steve. There's no need, there's no reason. There's no reason to return to that selfish way of living. Even though it may have been, even though it may have been called selfless, it still had self. There was still self, being selfless rather than selfish or self more. It's really very simple. It's very simple. All is living as everything. It's just the way it is. It's just wonderfully the way it is for no one. It's warm, cozy, convenient, full, complete, one, whole, huge. Everyone's born that way. Apparently. And then that apparently high developed brain gets to work on itself. In an effort to create itself into something when it already was something to begin with. That something that it was to begin with had no desire to be anything else than what it was to begin with. Everything. How can everything be more than everything? How can you add anything to everything? You're already everything. Apparently. So the brain does its contribution, apparently contributing itself to everything. And in the process, can't see anything. It's very light. This is a very light kind of seeing. Maybe not a cosmic joke, because that would require someone to get the joke. And yet it's just very light, peaceful. Without wanting. Just peacefully seeing what's apparently there. At some point, the self may see whatever it sees about itself. And without doing anything, because it's not capable of doing anything, apparently, it may just not be there anymore. It may just not be there anymore. And if something pops up and says it's looking for it, then it's there. It may not be there anymore. And then it may realize it's not there. And then it's there. The self may not be there anymore for a while. and then realize or notice something's different and go looking for itself again. And maybe finding itself. And it's all still selfing that way. Until it, for whatever, since it's the one that requires a reason for everything, then for no apparent reason, or for whatever apparent reason, it may just not be there. No more. All gone. Never to return, because there's no need for it. No one needs it. No one needs it. And when that self is no longer there, then what is there and has always been there is there. Solidly there. It's always been solidly there. Now it is seen that it's solidly there. And that it has always solidly been there, apparently. Apparently solid, apparently there. And that the selfish self that has all the memories, or had all the memories of itself in its life, isn't there anymore. The memories remain, apparently. The selfish one is no longer there. It's just, again, all there is, being all there is. Silence is nice. Nothing is missing in the silence. The creek makes a little noise. The birds make a little noise. An insect or two may buzz by. This is fine. Not making noise. If everything's been said, there's nothing wrong with silence. Until something else comes up. Or maybe it won't. The silence itself feels like infinity. Again, it's all there is, doing all there is. Silently. Well, I would call that an explanation. I would call that a story that appeals to the explainer. There are endless opportunities to explain. It's interesting. There are endless opportunities to explain everything. And at the same time, everything could care less. Everything could just totally care less about any explanation. Or another way of saying it would be everything just has no need for an explanation. On some level, explanations may end up being helpful. Adding to the comfort and convenience of human living, adding to the longevity, the health, the well-being, the apparent needs of human beings, mostly appreciated on the selfish level, on the self level, the self-ish level. That happens everywhere in human culture, apparently. And at the same time, all there is that is all of humanity could care less. Explanations could be looked at like human activities on the order of paying rent and buying food, eating food, and taking a walk, building things, endless human activities. They get done by individual human beings, and mostly in the form of separation. Once there's no longer separation, human activities still get done, and they're getting done as all there is, doing it. All there is paying the rent. All there is eating dinner. All there is watching a movie. All there is driving a car. And of course, cars are appreciated. That's a useful invention. Nice to get places quickly. Of course, when all there is doing the driving, in this scene, there really is no time. It's just an activity. It's just all is doing that. Then. All is eventually discovering that there was never a self, and seeing that it was always all is, all that there is. It's just all there is. No big deal. It really is no big deal because it feels so natural. It feels so complete as it is, not for anyone, not for any separate one, just as it is. It is complete. It is not lacking. The big need for explanation always goes back to separation. Unless it's all there is. For example, unless it's all there is as a quantum physicist exploring the quantum realm of physics, and making discoveries as a physicist, that is all there is. Or a doctor. A doctor no longer separate is all there is doctoring. A carpenter is all there is carpentering. Whatever work or career or business or undertaking even as human beings are separate, doing what they're doing separately in separation, it's still what is, giving that body life. So Leva, that self, has a need for explanation, apparently. How does Leva feel when she's lacking an explanation for something? Somehow, if there were no people, there would be no explanations anywhere. It would just be the earth and life, earthing and lifing without explanation, and yet still happening the way that it does happen. And animals would do what they do. Some may go extinct, some may begin as new life forms. That would just be all there is. Doing that with no people around. There's talk about terraforming Mars, about turning Mars into a habitable planet. Right now, there are no people on Mars. There apparently are, they haven't found any life on Mars, maybe some evidence, possible evidence of past life forms. So there's talk of terraforming Mars and turning it into a habitable world for life. And that they say that process can happen on its own. Perhaps it happened on Earth. It's theorized that something like that may have happened on Earth naturally, and that life developed on Earth as that happened. So whether it's a man-made change or it's natural, it's just another example of all there is doing it that way. Maybe at some point, human beings or something similar in the animal world will happen, coming out of all there is, doing what it's doing as all there is. And then when the people come, they come up with all their explanations to explain themselves. How did they happen? Why do things happen that way? What can we do about this? And initially, before there were humans or people, they had nothing to do with anything. And now that they're here in huge numbers, they have a lot to do with what they see as their everything. But they don't see, they really don't see everything. They just see what they want to see. Because they've become separate from everything. When they were not separate, or before they were separate, or if they're not separate, then everything can see everything. It can see itself as everything. And that brings all the wholeness and the oneness and the completeness and all that, where nothing is lacking. So the explanation really isn't necessary. The question isn't even necessary. If all there is not likely to ask that question, because it's already everything to start with. It's already everything, and it doesn't need a explanation for living. It doesn't need a God. It doesn't need religion. It doesn't need a path. It doesn't need to be spiritual. This little creek in the background is so spiritual. It's so complete. It's so enlightened. It's so aware. It's so wonderfully whole. What else could it possibly need? It's already complete. Even if the water dries up, it's still already complete. Even if the plant dies, even if the rocks get eroded away, it's still all there is there. Pretty nice stuff, apparently. Pretty significant for nobody. Pretty huge, a pretty huge subject. For nobody. So we're back to the realm of silence. A lot's been said, but so what? Like little kids say. So many little kids are already there until they're not. Well, have we said enough, Leva? It's always enough. Any other questions for you?